back to my channel. If you're new here, Tater's like, I'm out. If you're new here, my name is Merina. I do mobile home living in a trailer park in Tennessee. And today we're just going to kind of do a chat with me kind of video about my New Year's resolutions. I had become a non-believer of New Year's resolutions there for several years because I kept making all these resolutions, and at the end of the year I felt like a complete turd nugget because I couldn't get none of the things done that I wanted to get done, and that in turn made me less motivated for the upcoming year, and it was just a never-ending cycle. So this last year I was so hesitant going into 2022 to make New Year's resolutions because I was like, I feel like I'm just gonna fail at them. Like, I feel like I'm just not gonna get anything done. And boy, could I have not been more wrong. Somebody lit a fire under my hind end because I started getting things done like bam, 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 bam. It took me a few months to get on a roll, but once I was on a roll, I was noticing such a change in who I was that summer versus who I was the summer before. And noticing that change, noticing the difference in me as a person, as a mom, as a wife, as a Jesus lover, as a homemaker, all the things, as a dog mom, all the things, I was noticing all the changes and all those things, and it motivated me to get better, and it motivated me to keep going. And I realized then that making New Year's resolutions doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Now, you can't go into the new year expecting to be like Beyonce next year. Let's get realistic, y'all. We can't make expectations too high. Like, I didn't go into 2022 thinking I was going to be a Martha Stewart. This girl is not a Martha Stewart. I'm a Fartha Dewart. Like, that's no Martha Stewart in this house. So I didn't expect too much, but I put that on me, not to be hard on myself. And if you hear little pitter pattern, it's the dogs. I took my rug out, so now it's just all hardwood and they're going all over the floor, pitter pattern. I put enough pressure on myself to where I held myself accountable, but I didn't expect too much and overwhelm myself. I'm one of the most self-awareness, I don't know what you would call it. I'm very self-aware of what I am and who I am and what my flaws are and where my flaws are. And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. It's a good thing in areas like when I need to look inside myself and see a flaw in myself that I maybe need to work on, or a personality flaw or something like that. I can always address that because I'm so self-aware, but it can also be a bad thing because I can find those things more easily than other people, and I can focus on those things. I heard a buffalo. It can be a bad thing though when I start to notice those flaws and I can pinpoint those areas in my life where I don't have it all together, or maybe those areas in my life that I really need to work on that are not such good qualities that I have, and then I start hyper focusing on that. And then y'all hear me start bringing up my flaws. And then you guys are like, don't be so hard on yourself, Marina. But it's not that I'm being hard on myself. It's just I have to address those things, me, myself as a person. I have to address those things so that I can fix them. It would be so easy for me to ignore the bad qualities in myself and ignore the flaws that I have, and then they would never get fixed. I'm a type of person that I want to fix something that's wrong with me. I know I'll never be perfect. I know, and that's not ever the goal, but the goal is just to be better than I was last year, a better person than who I was. I'm not in a competition with anybody. I don't care if they're doing better than me or they're doing better than me. As long as I'm doing better than myself last year, that's the only person. It's me against me. And if I'm doing better than I was last year, then that's the goal for me. So when I do mention my flaws, and I do mention my faults, and the areas I really need to work on in me, it's not me bashing myself. It's me taking accountability for the things I need to work on and saying, okay, Marina, you need to take responsibility for that. You need to make an effort and get motivated to change that part of you for the better. Being too hard on myself would be me just bashing myself into the ground and then never doing anything about it. So this year coming up, I have several New Year's resolutions, and one of those is to continue to take accountability for the areas in my life I need to work on. I can't be better if I already think I'm the best. And that's my motto going in, is stay humble, take accountability, take responsibility, and keep trying to better yourself. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to break down those resolutions for you guys and just do this kind of like a chat with me. I was going to do this big extravagant video, but you guys are kind of like my diary. It's kind of like, instead of writing and my hand gets cramped up, I talk to you guys and stumble over my words. But it brings me comfort to have you guys to talk to about stuff like this, because even though you can't talk back in real time, these videos, I get some of the best conversations in the comments out of these kinds of videos where we're talking to each other and you guys are revealing things in yourself in the comments, or even you guys will start bringing up the change you've seen in me and being encouraging and being like, yeah, Marina, I've seen this change, or I've seen you kind of turn into this, and I've seen you really work on this, and I can tell you've been working in this area. So it's really just usually a good conversation down in the comments of these videos if I just do a relaxed chat with me like this. I know all the YouTubers like all the big videos, and it does great for content, and it does great for good thumbnails, and it brings in the views, but I'm not going to get on here and say my New Year's resolution is to have a pony farm just to get 100,000 views. The numbers don't mean anything to me in regards to that. What does mean something to me is having the number of you guys here just to be here, not because of the number beside of my name, Fearfully Created, on here, just because this amount of people want to be here. Thankfully, that's nothing I have to worry about because I don't get caught up in numbers, and I don't look around and compare my numbers to other people's numbers. Or at the height of my YouTube where I was getting like 10,000 subscribers a month, like I never looked at it as in a way that I thought I was better than anyone or anyone was better than me. It's never been about that, and I'm thankful for that because I feel like that's where a lot of the YouTubers lose their sense of relation with their subscribers and that friendship level. When you start to view the viewer more so as a number rather than a viewer, that's when you lose that relationship, that tether that kind of ties you guys to me, and I never want to lose that no matter what. So thankfully I don't have to worry about that, and that's why I do such a different variety of videos. I would probably be so much bigger and my analytics would be out of this world if I just stuck to my niche and done niche like videos, my mobile home, my cleaning, stuff like that. I would grow 10 times faster, and those videos are great and they're fun to make, but that's not where I get my conversation, my relationship with you guys. I find that in the comments of my homemaking videos, and I find that in the comments of my days in the lives. All of those videos in which don't do as hot as the makeover videos and the cleaning videos and stuff like that. I find the best conversation are in that kind of video. It's the videos that don't do so hot numbers wise, but it does hotter for me relationship wise, if that makes sense. I get way more out of the comments of those videos than I do from a, oh Merina, you're so talented at decorating, or oh Merina, this looks beautiful, you could be on HDTV. Those are great compliments, and I'm thankful for those, and it really encourages me to keep going, but that's not the kind of comment that really keeps me coming back to this platform. It's the kind of comments that are like, I've seen such growth in you as a person on this channel, and Merina, can you pray for me? And Merina, I was struggling with something like that too, and this is how I got over that. And Merina, here's some advice for you because I was struggling in that area. Or Merina, maybe you should try this because I tried it and it worked out like this in my favor. Stuff like that, where I get to find out your experiences, your likes, your dislikes, your preferences. Times when I get to find out stuff like that about you, that's what makes this platform and me doing this worthwhile, because at the end of the day, I started this because God called me to start this. I started this because I needed friends. I needed a sense of community, and that's where I find it. Not in the endless compliments based off of my mobile home makeovers, and it's not in the compliments based off of how I look. It's not in the compliments based off of even how nice I am or anything like that. It's based off the comments where you and I both can talk about the growth in one another, and in that conversation come to know each other better and make a better bond, make a stronger bond. That's how I come to know you guys by name. That's how I come to look for your icons beside your name. It's in the conversations I build with you guys that build and strengthen my relationship with the 76,000 of you guys, or however many there are. I can't remember. Maybe 77 at this point. I can't remember. So let's get into the New Year's resolutions. I'm going to break them down for you and try not to be too long-winded, but y'all know I'm as long-winded as a Pentecostal preacher. If my brain wants it to come out, it's going to come out, and I can't stop it. There's no stopping this train. My first New Year's resolution, these are not in any order whatsoever. I have one about God on here, and it should be at the top of the list, but I had this in just written out down here, so if I mixed it up I'd probably get confused, but know that the one about God is the most important. But the number one on this list, as I have it written, is to cut out chemicals. You guys might have been noticing where I've been using a lot more vinegar. I haven't had my method sprays that I love so much. It's been a transition for me, walking around smelling an Easter egg in my house. I love smells. Y'all know I'm crazy about candles. I'm crazy about wax warmers. But as I'm getting older and I'm gaining more information and I'm doing more research, I'm beginning to realize that those things I inhale and my family inhales, and and just spraying that stuff all over my house, it isn't the best for us. I've been noticing that my lungs have been having reactions to certain things. It might be all the things that I've breathed in while spraying my house down with cleaners for the last, I don't know how long. I ain't been cleaning that long though, let's be honest. Last 3 years. I just noticed a reaction my body's having to it. So recognizing that reaction and wanting to move forward, in 2023 I want to clean with less harsh chemicals, and I want to do more natural cleaning methods. I want to clean with more vinegar, baking soda, things that aren't harsh and aren't chemically. I also want to dabble in making my own laundry soap. I want to dabble in making whatever I can at home a more natural way and a more affordable way, because that New Year's resolution leads into the next New Year's resolution, and a lot of these you'll find will do that. It's kind of like they bleed all together. So that resolution bleeds into the second resolution, which is to save more money and budget better. I have been getting better at that within the past 2 years. I have been doing the envelope method for a while, and it's really helped me, but that's only for saving for big things like special occasions, home makeovers, big things like that. Things I know I'm going to spend a lot on, but I want to get used to just saving to save and just putting money in our savings account. Not to go in an envelope, not to go in the kids' savings account, which I'll continue to do that, but not to go in those two things, because I already have a flow of money going to those things pretty routinely, because I've kind of gotten the routine of doing that. I want to start saving money so that I have a base amount in my savings account, and I want to set that base amount high. A massive emergency comes up or anything like that, maybe someone close to me really needs a lot of cash for some reason, I don't have to scrounge up all my envelopes and stuff like that to get the amount of money I need. I just have that base amount, that pretty large base amount in the bank account, so that it's there. It's kind of a cushion. That's not something I've been good at. I have been good at saving with the envelope system. I've been really good at that, and I've been very proud of myself for that, because I come from a not so good money background. I made horrible, devastating financial decisions, and it got my family in a lot of mess. It wasn't just me, but a majority of it was me. Learning to budget has been a thing that I've been learning to do within the past few years, and it's a thing that I hope I continue to learn to do and get better at. I don't know anything about stocks and bonds. I don't know anything about trading or anything like that. I would love to know, and I've tried to learn, but it kind of just looks like a foreign language to me. But what I do know how to do is I do know how to save, and I feel like saving doing the envelope systems and saving for my kids' savings account, doing both of those things has really got me in the habit of saving money. So since I don't know how to do all that other stuff, I at least know how to save money, so I can at least build up our bank account so that we can have a cushion in case we need something, and it's a very expensive something. That goes hand in hand with the lessening the harsh chemicals and doing our own DIY cleaners and stuff like that, because the DIY cleaners are not only for our health but also for our pocket, because these cleaners that we see on YouTube that I've used, that I see other people use, they get really expensive, especially ones you can't just find at your store. They get super expensive, and honestly, if I can find, I don't care if it smells like a daggone Easter egg, if it cleans the surface, that's all that matters to me. I'm also going to try to get a little bit more into essential oils. I kind of messed with that a few years back, and it didn't go anywhere though, because I really didn't know how to use the essential oils. And it's not because I didn't research. I've come to find out as an adult, you can research all the things about something, but if you're not at that level mentally that you know you're going to start grasping it, it doesn't matter. There's so many things I've started back in the past that I researched my heart out on, and it just didn't click with me until that one moment where my brain said, okay, it's time to click. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a condition. But no matter the studying, no matter the research, and if my brain don't want to learn it, I don't learn it until it wants to learn it. Going back to the making things more natural though, and doing it on a budget, that also bleeds into the third New Year's resolution, which is to make more of our food from scratch. I want to cut out preservatives. I've already started doing that, so we're going into the gear, already kind of getting it going and getting that gear to turning. I want to make freezer bulk meals. I want to do bulk breakfasts. I want to do all that made from scratch, so we're not buying Jimmy Dean sausage sandwiches and having all those preservatives and stuff in it, put into our bodies. The air is polluted, the water's polluted, everything's polluted. So the last thing I want to do is add more pollution through preservatives into our body. I said our body like there's more than me in here. Well, there is. Holy Spirit, come on now. Because this is my temple, and you don't even have to look at this from a religious view, but from a religious view, I'm not a bit religious, but from a Jesus view, I see this as my temple. Like, he gave me this, and why am I treating it like trash? It's like God handed me this gift and I rip it in two just because it's more convenient for me to rip it in two than to work on the thing that he gave me. That mindset right there, it's kind of Holy Spirit inspired, and it's what's really been getting me to doing more things myself and getting me to really pay attention to what's in the stuff that I'm using around my home. This body isn't just mine as a Christian, it also houses the Holy Spirit, and that's something I never really thought of whenever I was filling it with all these carbs and all this junk and all these preservatives and these harsh chemicals and stuff like that. I didn't realize what I was doing to one of the biggest gifts God gave me. So this next year, I've already started, but this next year I'll definitely be doing more made from scratch, bulk made from scratch, homemade dog food. My dogs have been doing really good with the homemade dog food. My kids have been loving the homemade breakfasts. I do want to limit our radiation, so I'm going to try to come up with ways that we can heat the frozen things and not just pop it in the microwave. I don't know if air fryers go off of radiation. That's something I really need to look into, but as for right now, I'm starting out baby steps, and we're going with the made from scratch stuff, and then maybe throughout the year, or maybe by next year, it'll kind of transform into a microwave thing, radiation thing too. Who knows? I don't ever know how long it'll take me to get to a destination. I just know when I get there. I'm just along for the ride. I'm just happy to be here. That leads me into the next, see how they just bleed in together? That leads me into the next New Year's resolution, which is to continue my weight loss. I'm hoping that the less junk I put into my body, the less preservatives and stuff, that it'll help maintain the weight loss I've already lost and then help me continue to lose weight. This past year I got on Weight Watchers, and it changed my way of thinking when it comes to food. It was a very slow and gradual way to lose weight, and if you don't have patience, it ain't the thing for you. It is extremely doable, and it becomes second nature, and it's easy, and it's not like a keto diet, which that works wonders. I've done that before. I've done about every diet in the book. It's not like the HCG diet, that also works wonders. It's not like any of those where you have to really work at your diet. It simplifies weight loss, and that's a good and a bad thing because it can be abused. You can just look for things that are lowest in calories and add junk on there to make it to 30 points or however many points you have, or you can actually look at it and assess the foods you're putting into your body and how much points they have and why they have so many points, why they have so little points. And I've been trying to utilize it in that way and not just take advantage of the points that I have and still consume a bunch of junk. My weight loss has always fluctuated, and it did at the beginning of this year. I came in to 2022 with already an amount of weight that I had lost, and I ended up gaining it back. So then I had to take the initiative to do something about the weight gain back, and I was toying with the option of surgery, and I'm still doing that. I just, honestly, surgery is very expensive and I just don't want to put myself under the knife, as you would say, unless I absolutely have to. And it may come down to that. I don't want to live many more years as an extremely obese person. I want to give my kids the best childhood. They are my first and foremost priority, and I want to give them the best version of me I can, the version that can play with them, that can run around and chase them. And while I can't do that right now, it would be ignorant of me to think that I could still do that 5 years from now, the state that my body's in. I'm relatively healthy. My blood work is pretty awesome. I'm a skinny person on the inside just trying to get out. But 5 years, 10 years from now, it's not going to be the case. The older I get, the more it'll bring down my body, and I don't want that to happen sooner than it has to. So we're going to be working on weight loss. Going to be continuing Weight Watchers. I did do Ozempic shots, like an Ozempic blend, for a little while, and the side effects were just too harsh for me. The nausea wasn't nausea. It was actually like, it looked like The Exorcist. I'm not gonna lie, like that was projectile. It was also very expensive, and I had to pay for it out of pocket. And while it was giving me great results, it wasn't worth what it was doing to my body inadvertently while it was causing me to lose weight. Did I use that word right? Did I use that word right? I think I did. Maybe I did. And maybe I'm just getting too excited. Also, if you have a history of thyroid issues, you're not really supposed to take it. And I do. Y'all know have a history with thyroid issues. That's about the only thing that's wrong with me anymore. It was just best if I got off of it. And it's sad. And I kind of went back and forth and kind of prolonged it for as long as I could. But once it really started affecting my time with my family, and that it did, because I couldn't enjoy anything because I was puking all the time, that's when I started to realize this probably isn't the best option for me. I know it's a good option for everybody else, and it does work so good. Best results I've ever had. And I've been on every diet in the book. Like I've said, I've been on phentermine before. Phentermine made me crazy. I've done it all. There's not one thing I have not done to lose weight. Out of everything, that worked the best, but the side effects were just too bad for me. It's also a little bit dangerous whenever you come from a history like I do, where a history of an eating disorder. I've been obese my entire life, majorly obese, like deadly obese my entire life. I'm pretty sure I was obese in the womb. Like, I'm not kidding, my whole life. I know what it's like to be a fat girl because I've lived it my entire life. That being said, growing up in high school, you can imagine the disorders a larger girl, very large girl, gets while she's in high school under all this peer pressure and all this bullying and stuff. It can lead to a lot of eating disorders, and I had several. What I started noticing, and why I inevitably put the Ozempic down along with it was taking time away from my family, was that I noticed that I would go for days without eating and then eat just a little bit to curb the hunger, throw it up, and go days without eating again. And that, my friends, is a start to an eating disorder. That's smack dab. You're practically in the middle of an eating disorder at that point. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. The things it was doing to me mentally, the way that I thought I could get around calories, the way I thought I could get around eating and the hunger pains, it wasn't worth it. So going into 2022, I have set a goal for myself to lose a certain amount of weight, doing slight exercise, because that's really all I can commit to right now, and that's just being honest with you guys. I've been walking more than I've ever walked this past year, and I hope to continue to do that in 2022. But I'm also going to be doing Weight Watchers, and I hope that that will get me to my goal. There's specific reasons that I've set this goal, and there's things that are driving this there are things that are driving me to get to this goal, and they're pretty large things. So hopefully I can make this happen. I'll be fine if I'm 20 pounds less than what I am right now by the end of 2023 though. Like, I'll be golden. As long as I'm losing weight, it's progress. I would love to lose weight faster, and I need to lose weight faster, but I'm not going to give myself a hard time for something that my body can't help. A lot of mine is due to hormones. It's due to my thyroid. I just now this past year started taking medication for my thyroid because I just now this past year went to the doctor for the first time in 8 years. So we're on the road to a healthier life. It's just taking some time to get there because it takes money too. That also leads into the next New Year's resolution, which is to establish a better routine. 2022 has been my best year so far in regards to a routine outside of our homeschooling routine. Just the cleaning routines, the everyday routines. It has been the best year for me ever. And you can look at my videos and be like, wow, Marina. But I mean, for me, it's good. I've been doing great on routines the past few months particularly. I want to continue to set a good routine for myself, maybe even get better, maybe start waking up and being more productive in the mornings and not letting it take a whole half of a day for me to wake myself up. I want to start working on brain health. I don't know, maybe do some Sudoku or something to keep my brain healthy so that I just don't go throughout my day mindlessly doing the things that I need to do, and I can really focus on it and put effort into those things that I want to do and those things that I need to do. That also leads me to the next New Year's resolution, which is to get off my phone and get into a book. Not just any book, not just fiction books, not just young adult books or new adult books or adult books, fantasy books, but read some nonfiction too. Read something that's going to really get my mind to working and get me really focusing on the story. Reading really helps with my vocabulary. It helps a ton with my vocabulary. You can tell the difference when I have read versus when I haven't read on these videos. If you go back and look at times where I've just said turd over and over and over and over and over again, and it is my go-to word, and I have a basic, I mean less than average vocabulary, those are times that I've went several months without reading. Versus the months that I read more, my vocabulary is so much better and on such a different level than it was during those months that I didn't read. I'm on my phone quite a bit during the day because that's what I do. Everything I need to do is mostly from my phone. I want to get that done in a timely manner, set it aside, and then really put my mind to work versus just getting on social media and scrolling mindlessly. I really want to work on brain health because my memory is so bad already. I want to kind of strengthen it. I have a lot of black spots in my childhood. I can't remember most of my childhood. I can remember a lot of the bad parts, but I can't remember a lot of my childhood period. It's all black, and there are times when I want to remember some things, and there are times when God's just like, no, you don't. So I think a lot of my memory loss is due to trauma, but I know most of my memory loss is due to me having pseudotumor cerebri. It really affected my brain, and I think that's why I'm so quirky. And a lot of people get on here and sometimes they're hateful and they're like, you're definitely autistic. Like, so? But I'm not autistic. I've never been diagnosed. I'm very big on diagnosis because my child does have autism, so I don't like those comments too much. But I am quirky and I am a little bit different, and I think that has a lot to do with it because it really messed with me cognitively. You know what I'm trying to say, my cognitive stuff. It really messed with that. It really messed with my memory as well as my eyesight. You guys know I'm literally blind in my left eye, so sometimes it likes to travel and go on vacation without me. I really want to try to strengthen my memory if that's something I can even do. I don't know if it is or not, but I'm going to give it a shot, as well as my brain health in general, because pseudotumor cerebri is kind of like a tumor. It's just a fluid based one, so I had to have several spinal taps drain off the fluid, and it really messed with my cervical spine. You guys can probably tell me doing like this a lot. It's because I have a really bad spine, and it's because of the cervical fluid and all the tissue that got damaged down through there from the pseudotumor cerebri. I had that when I was 11, and it was so bad. Oh, it was so bad. It carried on for several years after I was 11, and then I've had times in my adult life where it has flared up. I had a major flare up when I had the girls. Right after I had the girls, before I started back work, my vision would go out, and it would call, I forget what the doctor called it, bleaching. My eyes would bleach. So I would close my eyes and it would go all white, and it felt like so much pressure, and I would open them and I couldn't see anything. It was like my hands were like this over my eyes and I couldn't really see anything. It flared up for a really good while, and I had to go back on Diamox, but I haven't had a flare up in a while, and I've noticed that my flare ups usually happen with particular weather, if the altitude gets to a certain level, but it also does it when I have a drastic weight gain or a drastic weight loss really quickly. So that's why I think Weight Watchers is kind of a blessing, because it is gradual and it's not like a quick drop in weight, and it doesn't spark that pseudotumor cerebri to flare up again. Y'all hear that? Like, leading into the next one, it's to plan every day. Now, I don't want to plan every minute of every day, but I do want to be better at planning. I do have a planner set up for 2023, and I have other things that I'm going to be sharing with you guys here in the next few videos on what I'm doing to stay on top of my planning and the plans within the home and the plans outside of the home. But I have put out an idea in my mind that I'm going to do to really keep me on board with planning during 2023, and not just plan for a little while and then go MIA with planning and come back 3 months later and start planning it again, because I have a habit of doing that. The next New Year's resolution is I still want to declutter. I have decluttered so much out of our home this past year. I want to declutter more. I'm not a minimalist by any means, but I am a minimalist my way, is what I like to call it. I have a playlist on here that's called Minimalism My Way, and it really is minimalism my way. I'm taking a lot of ideas from the minimalist lifestyle, and I'm applying a lot of them to my home and to my life, but I'm not labeling myself as a minimalist. I have way too much decor to be a minimalist. I am a minimalist my way though, and I'm getting rid of a lot of unnecessary stuff and stuff that I have just too much of. Getting rid of all that stuff will help me get organized, which is another New Year's resolution I have, is to get more organized. I want to know where everything in my house is. I want things to be put back where it belongs. I want these things to have a home so we know where it belongs and we know where to put it back to. I want bins labeled. I don't care about them being aesthetic and clear and white and Pinteresty. I just want bins that I can label so that I have a visual of what needs to go where. So I'm tired of losing everything. I lose my mind when I lose everything. The last two things are probably the two biggest things that I want to accomplish within this next year. And the first of those things is I want to start the podcast. I want to get it up and running. I've been praying so hard about it. I created the channel about a year ago, probably. It's been a while. And I was ready to go, and I kind of just felt that tug, like there's more you need to do before you start that. And so I've been reflecting inside of me and kind of just waiting on that green light from God. I know that if I start before that green light, I won't get done what needs to get done right away. And I know that because for so long I was wanting to start YouTube, but I waited for that green light. And when I waited for that green light, that's when things started happening. And that's when it made the difference. That's when God came in and showed out. He got done what he needed to get done. And so that's what I've kind of been doing, is I've kind of been waiting on that green light again. I don't want to get ahead of God, but I also don't want to fall behind either. I'm kind of in this limbo where I'm just trying to be where God wants me to be and nowhere else. I don't want to be anywhere that God hasn't put me. And when God puts you somewhere, you don't have to force your way into it. He will set a seat at the table specifically for you with your name on it. I have a feeling though, and I've been praying, and I've really been focusing so much on the podcast. There were times where we were planned out and we had videos ready and everything, and it was like, no. And I didn't understand that, and I was like, I created the channel. Is this not what you wanted? Like, did I miss it? But it's just like, wait. Like, it's just a wait. So I'm feeling that release in me, and I'm feeling like, you know, this next year, I feel like God does big things on Fearfully Created, but I feel like he's going to go deeper on Fearfully Created podcast, because that is specific to faith-based content. That is specific to Jesus. That is where you guys will get the in and outs of my story, Shane's story. We'll hear the in and outs of your story. We'll dig into the Bible together as a unit. It's not going to be like me teaching you something. It's just a togetherness. I know no more than the next person. Just because I went to seminary doesn't mean nothing. I can leave seminary and not know squat, because you don't really know until you know Jesus. We focus so much on theology and the words and the commandments and all of these things, and are women allowed to preach, and we read things out of context, and are we supposed to do this, and is this a sin? All that stuff isn't really important for you to understand right off the bat. Those things will come in time. Those things will come when you get to studying the Word and the Hebrew and the Greek, and you read things in context and stuff like that. What's most important is that you know Jesus. Because I can go and I can recite the whole book of Acts to the gates of heaven, and if I don't know Jesus, I ain't getting in. I ain't going to get to heaven and they're going to say, okay, can you recite me the 10 Commandments? It's going to be, did you know Jesus? Do you know me? Everything else comes in good time, right? And sometimes it's changing. Sometimes you will be so set in your ways on this theology, and a few years later something comes in and swaps that theology out from under your feet, and you're back to square one, and you get hung up on this theology, and this changes, and this changes, and this changes. All that stuff can change, but what needs to be the foundation that you and your faith is set upon is Jesus. Everything else will work itself out if the focus and the foundation is Jesus. So that's what I want the podcast to be about. It's not necessarily me teaching you anything. I'm not teaching you anything at all, actually. You're just getting a look into my brain when it comes to my relationship with Jesus. That was one of the biggest comments I got when I first started my channel. And well, when I first started talking about Jesus a lot, I've always talked about Jesus, but there was a time where God was like, I need you to talk more. I need you to talk more about Jesus. And I did, and I've continued to do that ever since. And that's when I added the "and Jesus loves you more" to the end of my videos, because I wanted it to be known where I stand and who I stand with, and that is Jesus. But when I started talking about Jesus more, one of the most frequent comments is, I want to see Jesus like you see Jesus. And I can't put you in my eye. I can't put you in my head. I can't put you in my head, and you can't look through my eyes, but I can tell you, you can know Jesus the same way I know Jesus. You can see Jesus the same way I see Jesus through your experiences with him, the bad ones and the good ones. I would have never known Jesus on the level that I know him now if I hadn't went through the crappy moments in my life, and I know that's not very preacher of me. I'm not a preacher at all. Well, I do have minister's license. I will tell you, they just give those things to anybody. I've never labeled myself a preacher, and I will never label myself a preacher. I actually don't like that word, and you guys could probably go back in some videos and get the whole gist of that, and I'll talk about that in the podcast too. But just because I have a minister's license doesn't mean squat, because at the end of the day, that's just a piece of paper, and that's just my name on a file somewhere. That is not my pass to get into heaven. That is not my past to be closer to God. And you guys will kind of hear about that in the podcast if you guys come over there. I'm not gonna talk a lot about the podcast. I'm not gonna, on this channel, I'm not gonna try to corral people over there. My theory is, if you're meant to be there, you will be there, and I hope that you are there. But if you don't want to be, then that doesn't change anything. I just want you to go over there because you want to go over there. So there won't be a lot of promoting it over here on this channel. I'll tell you guys about it every now and then. Maybe bring up something we've talked about in a day in the life or something. I'll always have it linked in the description. But as far as corralling people to that YouTube channel, I'm not going to be doing that. Number 2 of the most important resolutions I have for 2023 is the most important, and that is to continue to get to know God. I want to read the Bible, not to get all the knowledge, but to just know Him better. I don't care if I have the answer to a biblical question so-and-so asked. I always say, if I don't know the answer, we'll find it out together. I don't care about looking like the smartest biblical theologian on the planet. I don't care about how many genealogies are in Genesis. I mean, obviously I care about that stuff because it's the Bible and it's the Word of God, but that's not what I'm reading the Bible for. I'm reading the Bible to know Him, because to know Him is to love Him, right? You can't know Him and not love Him, not truly know Him. So I want to read the Bible more as a letter. I want to read the Bible more as a letter. One of our friends on here, they got me a personal Bible for Christmas. It has my name in every place that it would say, like, that, you know, God is talking about someone, like one of us, or to someone. It has my name, so it's personal. And I thought that was it's one of the most touching, neatest gifts I've ever received in my 31 years on this planet. But while reading that, I realized I want to read the Bible like it's a letter to me, not just a letter to me in regards to the New Testament, but a letter telling me about things regarding the Old Testament. Reading both the Old Testament and the New Testament gives me a visual of who God is and what His personality is like, because God absolutely has a personality. I've witnessed several traits of His personality. I've witnessed the wrath of God, the love of God, God's sense of humor. He absolutely has a sense of humor. He could not create me without a sense of humor, y'all. That just don't happen. But so many years I've read the Bible front to back, and I've read it just to get knowledge. A majority of those times it's been focused on the knowledge. What can you teach me, God? What can I get from you? How can I benefit from me sitting down and reading your Bible? Versus what it should be, which is, how can I benefit you? How can I be an asset to the kingdom of God? What can I do for you? What have you called me to? How can I fulfill that calling? That's what I want my mind to be in 2023. It's always been like that. I've always been a modern day David, a woman after God's own heart, ever since I got to know Him. But I want to take it further this next year. I want Him to change me from the inside out. Whatever's left in me from the old Merina, I want Him to gut it out and get it out of me. I don't want it there anymore. It did me nothing but harm. I don't want any part of the mindset I used to have, any part of that dark, cold heart I used to have, any part of the thought processes I used to have. I don't want that at all. If there's any left in me, I want it dug out of there, and I want it replaced with something godly. I'm chasing after Him this year. I'm chasing after Him, and I'm not stopping till I get to a point that I've never been to before with Him. Every year I get to that point, but this next year I want to go deeper. I'm not satisfied with just knowing about Him. I'm not satisfied with just reading the Bible. I'm not satisfied with knowing Him on the level I do now. I want to know more. So that's the main resolution I have for 2023. If you hung around for this long, God bless your soul. God bless America. I don't know how you did it, but I'm grateful for you. If y'all want to talk about your New Year's resolutions in the comments, I'm all ears. If you want to email me your New Year's resolutions, if you want to hit me up over on Instagram with your New Year's resolution, I'm all ears. I want to hear what y'all are going to be up to this next year. I want to hear what you really want to accomplish, and just know that I believe in you, even if nobody else does. I don't care if your New Year's resolution is to fly to the moon. I'm going to be down there when your rocket takes off, and I'm going to be like, whoa, I knew you could do it. This whole entire time I knew you could do it. In full hat and all. Your New Year's resolutions don't have to be big. They don't have to be flying to the moon. They can be mopping your floors more. I need to put that one on my list. They can be mopping your floors more, being kinder, making a habit out of calling your grandparents. Maybe you don't talk to them near as often as you want to, and things just get in the way and you procrastinate, and you want to talk to them more often. You want to make it a point to call them maybe once a week and talk to them, ask them how they are, send them something they need, something like that. That is a great New Year's resolution. If you want to be a better cooker and you're gathering a bunch of cookbooks and watching a bunch of Food Network in hopes that you can get better at cooking, that is a great resolution. Nobody's resolutions are bigger than the next person. All of them are important to us, and that's why we focus on them, and we want to do better in those areas. So know for a fact that I believe in you, and I think you can really, honest to God, accomplish anything that you put your mind to, because I'm living proof. It might take you a hot minute, and you might not get it done by 2023, and that's okay. Just put it on 2024's, and if you don't get done in 2024, put it on 2025. Just don't give up just because you get overwhelmed or because you feel like you can't go on, because sometimes we need to take a break. Sometimes we need to sit down for a few minutes. Sometimes we need to sit down and reassess that thing for a few minutes, and that's okay. That's completely normal, and you're not a failure because you need a break. You're not a failure because you need to sit down for a little bit. I love you guys. I hope you have a blessed morning, even night, whatever it is, wherever you're at. Know that I love you, but Jesus loves you so much more. I'll see y'all later. Happy New Year!